Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, January 8th. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen of Halifax. And this meeting is being taped by Area 58 and can be seen on YouTube or your local cable channel. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anybody have any additions to the agenda?
I have none.
Nope.
Was everybody able to review the selectmen minutes for the regular session of November 9th, November 27th, and December 11th?
I am.
Yes, Pammy got them out.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as read.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Tom, do you want to take it away?
Sure. I move to affirm approval of the following warrants and commitments. Vendor warrant number 55 for $207,126.22. Payroll warrant number 56 for $366,464.52. Vendor warrant number 57 for $67,461.45. Withholding warrant number 58 for $138,663.79. Vendor warrant number 59 for $104,168.89. Ambulance commitment from 12/3/18 to 12/9/18 for $78,128.70. Ambulance commitment from 12/10/18 to 12/16/18 for $55,695. Ambulance commitment from 12/17/18 to 12/23/18 for $18,658. Ambulance commitment from 12/24/18 to 12/30/18 for $11,275.30. Mobile home park fee, number 12, for $5,160.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I further move to appropriate the following warrants and commitment. Payroll warrant number 60 for $363,510.58. Vendor warrant number 61 for $1,328,682.61. Withholding warrant number 62, $136,564.09. School warrant number 63 for $527,787.71. Mobile home park fee number 1, it's kind of out of order, but okay, $5,160.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. I move to approve payment of the Selectmen's bills dated January 8th, 2019. KP Law for $3,761.15. National Grid for $41.53. National Grid for $1,913.25. Powers and Sullivan Accountants for $18,000. Matthew Bender and Company for $565.61. Brooks and Durensis Attorneys for $580. Michael C. Gilman Attorney for $2,140. And Attorney Lawrence P. Mayo for $2,112.50. And that's it for the selectmen.
I'll second those.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's 7:34, so I think we'll just start with Steve before we move on to the other. Hi, Steve. Yeah, would you like to come up front? So we're here to talk about the cremation law.
And it is.
Is this the one that we're gonna talk about at 9 o'clock also?
Yeah.
Are we talking-
Yeah.
No, are we?
Not especially, I hope.
Oh. Thank you.
The first part's the new section you guys approved for the
Yes.
regular.
Yep.
I just, so you guys can see how it's gonna be set up.
Oh, perfect.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. You know I can use my minutes.
Oh, nice.
Can I give somebody two?
Do you wanna borrow mine?
No, you can take, oh my God, you took it, no, as soon as you give it to me, you took it back.
I must have left it on my table.
That's okay, I'll grab one of theirs.
I'll give it back.
Yeah, no worries.
So did you have any question about how I have this set up? It's 40 by 80.
Yes.
That's what it ends up being, 40 by 80 and
Yep.
And
And
those
how,
are those are the lots for the new
those are regular
section.
burial lots,
and this, so this is gonna add 96 more lots,
regular,
Grave
Burials.
sites, right?
yes, for regular burials.
yes,
Yes, yes. That's a lot.
more than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Hopefully I measured it right, but. No, it is.
No, you're not gonna quite fit.
I'm sorry, you hope?
No, it's right.
Yeah, you gotta move across the street to duplexes instead.
Okay,
Alright, so now the cremation,
yes,
since we're starting to bury people in that new section,
yes,
that's where I wanted to put the wall before down the other end.
yes.
Well, a couple of trees died in this corner near the water tower,
Okay.
and that's, if you look at this part. of
Yeah,
it-
I like that. So right where the hill goes down?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
we cut 2 trees out of there and 1 big tree in the grassy area. We're gonna flatten that out. We'll start with just 1 wall, and then on the back side, right at the, where it drops off.
yep,
About 5 feet in front of it, so we don't lose anything. That's where this, that corner right here.
oh, I see that, yeah.
Yeah,
I used to bring my kids there to teach them how to drive.
And that would be these,
Yes,
on that other, so you got 2 singles, doubles, and 4
okay, so
niches.
how many can we accommodate on that proposed area?
I just, to start, I'd like you to start with 2 of each.
Oh, okay,
Just to see how they go,
okay, to see if people have an interest in it.
right? I don't wanna spend a lot of money and not
Yeah.
have them go anywhere,
Okay,
especially since we just opened up that new section.
yeah, I have a feeling it'll be quite popular.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, the cremation's going on now, so.
Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't do that.
I'm sorry, it's just, you know, it's just a term,
I know.
the cremation plots is gonna be really popular.
It is popular.
Yeah.
Reality.
No, it's a lot less expensive,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It's-
Typical
it's like-
funeral's running around, what, 10 to 20?
Yes,
Cremation is a few $1,000s as it is. People are still looking at just the
Right.
pine caskets or even natural burial. I know
Right.
there's some cemeteries opening up that way.
Yeah, and these niches, I mean, you don't have to, you can just go in the box that they give you when you get your remains, or you can buy an urn. And this back page on this is a new wall that I just found.
oh,
And it's set up, it's just like a post
Yeah.
office box.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, maybe that's just wrong, but.
It is, that's how the guy explained it, and then when he sent me the pictures of it, that's how it is. You actually can lock these up. Nobody can get in there except for, we have special keys for the top
Mhm.
to unlock everything, but the person, once they go into the niche, we can give them the key as the memento, so they can keep it with them or whatever, but they can't get back into that.
Into the
niche.
main, yeah.
Right. So, and you can set it up for 4, 3, 2s, and 1s, so you can actually.
oh, you could put like a family together,
Right.
When are
That's
you
what the
planning
guy was
on,
showing, you can have the different sizes.
right?
when are you planning on initiating this?
When I can get the money and then when I get that section completed.
Yeah.
Well, I have the money, I just have to. get
Right.
Approved by the guys.
So are you thinking, what color are you doing?
I'd just like to go with the plain gray,
Okay.
granite.
All right,
Yeah, no,
perfect,
that-
perfect. And then this whole, you're gonna wait on this?
That's the part that I'm trying to decide if I should go with this style or the front style is just a wall.
Yeah, I
And I don't
think,
have any pictures of the inside of it, but all it is you put 2 or 4 in each one.
I don't really dig how this looks, maybe because it reminds me of a post
Yeah.
office. I don't know.
Yeah, kinda like,
I like the,
The front.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cause this does look just like that. It's just on the inside is what they.
oh, she's
nobody
showing
will
us
see
the,
that.
oh,
That's the
okay.
inside. Oh, no, but this is covered. You do
oh,
not see it.
oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay, that's a
okay,
horse of a
that's where
different
we got
color.
lost.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that-
yeah, that's a
this
horse of a
here-
different color. Okay,
If you look at this one,
yes, That
what
will look the
front-
same, okay, then I'm fine with
So
it.
this is the inside.
You see,
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
And this one wall with 40 niches is $5,088.
okay,
And then each one of these, that single one is $250, the double is $395. This one goes up to $500, and this one is over $1,000 with the 4.
oh, right,
But like I said, I'd only buy one of these, one of those, and 2 and 2.
okay, just to
see
start.
how they- so-
And then we can go to the wall if we have a lot of people.
Well, I'd like to get the wall also.
Yeah, oh, in
Yeah.
addition,
So,
okay, oh,
that's
right,
how I'm
because it's
gonna
gonna
set
go
up
there.
here.
Yeah,
So
I
what,
see.
You
what's
start
the,
here, and I'll go on the front part of the corner.
Mhm.
okay,
And
what's the
if
total
you-
cost?
If I added all the 5,000 and the 200, it's good.
About $10,000?
Not, yeah, about 10.
But it's all fun.
After all the work, after we do the cement work,
so it's enough
because we
for,
have to put down the pad.
Pad, yeah.
so it's for 26 burials? Yes,
40,
40 in the wall,
okay,
and then,
I was just reading this, I thought that was how many,
oh no, that was just showing you how you can set it up.
oh, okay, perfect,
So there'd be 2 of the
Alright.
singles, 2 of the doubles, 1
okay,
for,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay, I would say we start with that and see how it goes.
I want to
agree.
look at Pembroke.
You did?
Yeah, I had a picture.
Oh, do
Wanna
you?
see what
Yeah,
it
Yeah.
looks like?
yeah, that's good.
You need us to approve the money tonight?
Well, he does, maybe.
Yeah.
But which source are we using?
The graves. and the-
Lots and graves
Lots and
account?
graves, yes.
So the funds are there, it's just a matter
Yes.
of
Yeah,
authorizing the
that'll bring it
expenditure,
down.
yeah.
I'm not sure if I want to go into perpetual care or that, because.
I think it's appropriate to do lots and graves.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
figured, that's
Yeah.
what for.
Yeah, I think that's a better spot for it.
Myself, I don't know how it looks nice, but they didn't set up the way I do it. Yeah, one time.
It's okay. Oh, yeah, that looks nice.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have that
Yeah.
in a cemetery in Hanover, Weymouth.
And theirs is only one side, and I'm going with the 2 sides.
The double-sided.
How do you
Yeah.
feel, on a policy standpoint, like, I see there's like a can of beer with some flowers in front of one of them. Like, how do people, like,
Honored.
That would be on the rules that I put.
same rules?
Yeah,
Okay.
if I don't think it should be there, then I can take it out, or I have the people take it out.
Yeah, because it's hard, like, I'm assuming that's that's for that boy that's on the bottom, you know?
Right,
But, yeah.
because we do get that out there
Yeah.
sometimes too.
Yeah, oh, I don't care about the beer part, I just meant like it's hard to pay it
the
tribute when
thing
they're
with
on
the
the
wall,
second
right.
row, they're putting it on the
That's
ground.
the thing with the walls,
Yeah,
there's not too much you can do with it.
yeah, that's okay, because people could put things on the top too.
Right.
Okay, cool. So what's the amount you need us to authorize?
I'd say 10,000.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for $10,000 to come from plots and graves to fund the,
And if it's over that amount,
I'll have to come back to you guys.
so moved.
Second,
all those in favor?
aye,
Thank you, Steve.
All right,
thanks, Steve.
thank you.
Save me a spot.
Stay nice.
Have a good night.
Okay.
I want them to all be gone for me.
You take reservations?
I want no spot.
If you want.
I don't want you even thinking about me.
Not on this part. Yeah.
So,
See ya.
let me just see. Okay, so it's 7:45. Oh, we have one more minute. Could I, we have a nice couple that's in the, audience, I know that we talk about, what's the subject that you like to talk about? Remind me, if you don't
We
mind.
are here for the McDonald Industries update.
Okay, do you wanna, we'll do that quickly so that you don't have to say if you don't want to? Yeah,
Oh, but I like them here.
I mean, it's
It's our permanent audience we have here.
It's basically on the list simply because we had given a piece of correspondence already.
Oh, you did? Okay.
No, not from them, but just, there's no action for the board to take tonight. Simply that the board had gotten a piece of mail from Marilyn McDonald, and I can get to that.
I know, we haven't heard from her in a bit,
Well,
since we
so
took
it's-
the tour, right?
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything from anybody from, did we ever get anything from Bridgewater
Sorry, that's in your way.
nothing I'm aware of.
about whether or not they agreed to the situation or not?
Well, they're already operating in Bridgewater.
Here it is.
Okay,
The
so,
second to last thing.
yeah, so all this is a note, an email from Marilyn McDonald, I'll read it, this is from December 28th. Boston DEP reached out yesterday with an apology for not getting back to us, meaning McDonald Industries, sooner, as it had been some time since our last meeting. They stated they had a number of internal discussions regarding the Bridgewater Halifax project. They also informed that they will have one more internal meeting next week, which would have been last week at this point. And then we'll schedule a meeting with the project proponents shortly thereafter of us to discuss options. Appreciate all of your patience as we work through with DEP on this project to develop the appropriate approach and pathway to provide to you. I'll inform you all as soon as they give us the meeting date, so you can expect a follow-up right after that meeting. And that's
Okay,
it.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're
And
more
let
than
me-
welcome to
And let
stay.
me know if you hear any trucks moving anything in the middle of the night.
Well, I'm glad I didn't want you to wait for the second to last thing, right? I know. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right,
Take
so
care.
it's 7:45 and we are meeting with George Bettini from BRs. Hi, George, how are you?
Hi, George.
Come on down.
He's limping, somebody attacked him already. Oh, please. I got shoes older than you.
I've got shoes on.
Yeah, they got holes in them.
That's very funny. So Charlie, do you wanna just?
So what happens is that the board every 3 months gets a report from the AG's office of OUI data regarding the last trip. So basically, when someone's put over for an OUI and they go to court, they have to provide information as, at least what they're saying. It's not under sworn oath, so it's not, we're not
Right.
taking as gospel, where their last drink was. It might be at somebody's house, it might be at a bar or restaurant, it might be at Foxborough Stadium, wherever. When we've gotten, when Halifax establishments are on the list, we'll notify them of that fact. If we see a pattern, more than one, then we'll ask them to come in just to discuss the situation. Again, it's not a disciplinary hearing by any stretch of the imagination.
Nope.
It's simply a discussion, say, hey, we've been getting these reports, we'd like to talk with you about it, make sure everybody's getting trained and they're being observant, things like that.
Oh, I'm here.
Hi.
I'm, like I said, until Charlie got the notice, we don't get any, I wish we would,
Mhm.
especially sooner, because then you could, at least we could isolate a day or, if we're having one problem. I mean, we have 4 bars, but most of the people have been with me, several years. As far as, the same thing, we have a policy, if the bartenders feel that they need to shut them off, they shut them off, and we stand by whatever the decision is, right or wrong, they make the final decision.
And everybody's up to date on their tips, training.
Everybody's up to
and
date,
Yes.
all the tips, yep, we, again, sometimes if we're having a function or a wedding and, they leave from there, any alcohol or something, we confiscate. Usually on the weddings, they always wanna bring a cooler or something if they can have it at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And on the way out, the limo pulls up and here you go, here's your stuff and go, or they take their own car or whatever, but, I don't think we've, like I said, I've only, one other one a few years ago, I've never seen anything else come across until these 2, so.
Well, they never say where the drink came from. They said they were at Monponset. That
Yeah.
said they might have been in the parking lot drinking. And
Well, I just don't know if it was a function, if it was a Saturday night,
So,
I don't
you know,
know.
That was my question.
48
How would you
security
know?
cameras, I can pull them all up and then we can isolate somebody, and if we could isolate a bartender or something that's,
Well, we don't get notified until after
Yeah,
a
until after.
year,
Same
so
thing,
we
yeah.
know nothing about it. It's not as if we got somebody there on site.
Right. And the same thing as far as functions go, if you're in a function, you can't drink at the bar. You can't, there's no
So, so that
crossover.
nobody,
That way they got the monitor. 'Cause
Right.
you have no idea how many he's had, or she's had drinks in this room,
yeah.
come into this room. So
But even,
during the
even that's
function,
pretty tough to monitor. I mean, people slide around.
Yeah, it's not as bad. Usually it's, you got, I mean, for us, you got the same crowd. If somebody gets, you know, it's like
Yeah.
the state coming in with somebody young, 19, 20, they stand out like a sore thumb. It's- So, and usually the functions, it's, you know, and once the function's over, like if we have a wedding that runs till 11, 12 o'clock, the main bar's either closed or shutting down, they won't serve anybody for the
Right.
function. It's just-
Basically, what we're doing tonight is a welfare check.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it, and it's
Yeah.
good, like I said, it's nice to have these conversations, and like I said, but almost all my bartenders have been there 2, 3,
Except,
several. and
everybody
20.
except Phil, right?
Yeah.
Were these dates close together, or were they?
I have to go back to the notes again.
There was,
There was
I know
one, there was one quarter, there was another.
Oh, okay, so they weren't within the same.
we're like 6 months apart.
Yeah, okay, that's all I was.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you just have a meeting and just say, hey, everybody, let's
Yeah.
just review.
yeah, we do that once a year, well, we're actually closed, so I don't know.
But
if
I'm
you said-
sorry, I'm
Sunday
sorry.
closed, you might
Yes,
want to
yes,
explain.
well, we closed the restaurant down Sunday night was the last night, we're gonna do renovations, we're gonna start in the kitchen and the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So we're actually looking at configurations, but the kitchen needs to be.
Because when you say
The
closed,
kitchen's-
No,
that
no, we're
means,
not closed.
that
We're
means
still
that the
doing-
liquor
yeah,
license
yeah,
is.
no. I already talked to Charlie, so we're still doing functions, we're still doing weddings, we're doing all that
Oh,
stuff.
you are, and you're
Yeah.
doing takeout.
We're doing takeout, well, takeout is actually, we had to reduce that down to 7 to 2, so we're only doing breakfast and lunch.
Oh, wow.
Because the main kitchen shut
Yeah,
down.
okay.
Yeah, so,
we
so
gotta
some
move
of the menu
equipment
couldn't
around.
come out, yeah.
So we kinda jammed, but it's the perfect time of year,
Yeah.
so a lot of help, I know they all scattered, so we just had our Christmas party last night, a lot of them wanna come back, and that's great, but I know we're gonna lose some, but it was one of those things, it's time for,
Well,
the kitchen's so old. and-
I of course had some.
Probably, what, so 20 years now?
and-
No, it's
Oh,
more,
it-
it's more than
I probably
20
think 30,
years.
40 years.
Yeah,
old.
that goes even better. You did some renovations.
We
on
did
it,
a few
yeah.
to try to streamline it, but
Right,
now it's,
yeah.
with the cost and labor, it's just. it's
That kitchen is
Yeah.
as old as I am.
Really?
Yeah, at least 30.
We should've did it years ago.
Yeah.
So when do you expect to reopen?
We're hoping 90 days, you know,
Oh.
we're waiting for the kitchen. We're waiting for the kitchen guys to come in, they'll be in this week, and we'll have a plan all drawn up by next week, and then hopefully we're good to go. Hopefully it all depends on what it's gonna cost. And the problem I have there is that a third of the building's on the water. You know, having the cooks look out at the ocean, there's great view, you know,
Yeah.
so depending on where we're gonna try to relocate some of it, so.
So it isn't quite so distracting.
Well, it's, you know,
Yeah.
you'd rather have all the customers on the water.
Yeah,
So,
right.
but-
Well,
Oh,
that's why
right.
that small function room was such a great thing.
I had to come back on it, but I'll let it slide.
Nice, you can do it. So, but no, like I said, right now, so we have functions and weddings for the next 90 days. So,
Okay.
so we're doing all of that, and then as we bring them back,
Well, good luck.
I appreciate
Hope
it. Thank
things
you.
work
And I'll
out.
keep
Thank
on
you.
it, and I'll let them know, and
Good luck with your renovation.
keep watch. Thank you. All right.
Awesome, thank
See
you so
George.
much.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
And please, don't drink and drive.
No. Too old.
Bye, George.
Thanks.
Good grief.
Okay, so we have a few minutes, we have about 5 minutes, so we can start.
Start knocking these out.
Yeah,
Okay.
do you mind?
Just so the board's aware, the town through the building inspector has filed against Lawrence and Joy Marble for zoning violations at the property of 16 Cedar Street. I know that Rob has been in contact with them for, it's probably a good half a year now about the violations there.
Please.
They just simply
Okay.
were not willing or unable to correct them. And so this was their last, well, not last step, but it was the next logical step since the failure to bring the property into compliance. There's no action for the board to take, I just wanted the board to be aware of it, that's all.
Thank you, Jim.
The school renovation project, I know that the two of you or three of you might have more information, but latest review session was on Thursday. A fair
Thursday.
amount of remaining work's been done, but based on when I've talked to Tom and Rob about it during the last few days, there still may be a punch list for the exterior work, let alone that we still have door work to do. The door openers for the ADA access had been installed along with some of the other parts of the door projects. The building inspector does plan on issuing a new temporary certificate of occupancy tomorrow for another 45 days. He's not real thrilled with that, but
No,
it's what we need to get done. I do have a request for approval for construction change directive number 2 from Habib and Associates for $5,279.84. for materials related to the door opener arms, if the board
Do you
was
have a
willing to
motion?
approve that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Geez, I'd like the kindergartners to graduate, to be able to have that done before they graduate.
Well, I wanted to do it before I retire at age
It's like the
90.
never-ending project.
Right. In terms of the fire suppression system,
What,
release,
before we move off of that, is the issue that doors aren't being manufactured on the manufacturing end of it, or you just don't have them there?
The
We're
doors
still
were
waiting.
ordered incorrectly, and the contractor took responsibility for
Yeah.
having measured them inaccurately.
Yeah.
And then we went round and round a little bit on how we were gonna rectify that, and then we came up with the fact that the doors that were being spec'd again weren't quite up to code, so they had to be reordered again. So the specialty doors, and anytime you run into specialty doors, in terms of their size and type, you've got lead time, and, you know, manufacturers fit them in when they can. And supposedly, they're supposed to land somewhere around the 17th of the month, of this month.
Okay, thank you.
so on the fire suppression system, we'll have the release of the bid documents next week on the 16th. Pre-bid conference is on the 22nd. The sub-bid deadline is the 31st, and the bid deadline for the general contractor is February 7th. And I'll talk a little bit about how we're funding that project a little
Later
while
on?
later tonight.
Okay, because we're gonna talk about the special.
Right, but, so we're moving forward with that. We're hoping that, as opposed to last year, we will get bids. We bid a bit later last year than we are doing this year, so it may have been, last year, a lot of the vendors' dance cards were full, and also we had a situation that we were using the fire suppression system as the GC, in a sense of, since it's obviously the vast majority of the work, we thought it was logical to have the contractor who was putting the fire suppression system in act as a GC. They tend to be uncomfortable about that. They're usually simply one of the many sub-bids for a school project or a construction project, so they're not used to that type of situation. And it might have been another reason why we had vendors who weren't willing to bid under the GC. So what we'll have is a GC with a sub-bid for the fire suppression system. So we'll see how that comes out, and I'll talk with you all about it a little bit more. And just so you're aware, I'm meeting with department heads on Thursday about the budget status and the various building and infrastructure projects. We might be putting in a new phone system for the town hall and some of the other buildings, and whatever other topics we'll bring up. Fieldstone Farms we're handling later. And just, there's this number of departments have submitted budget articles.
Yep.
Police, animal control, the elementary school, Silver Lake, fire, and the town clerk.
Yep.
Those are all been, I know I've given copies of all those to the town accountant's office. I believe many of them have been already seen by the capital planning committee.
Yes, we met last night and we,
So,
Yep.
That's happened. Contract negotiations, I'm not asking to go into executive session on that, just simply that we are getting requests to start
Yeah.
negotiations. Probably what I'd like to do is have the departments, the highway surveyor, the police chief and fire chief come in a couple of weeks to go over the contracts. If there are items that they would like, I'm in contact with Labor Council about possible amendments that the town would bring forth, but we're gonna have to start getting some work done by the end of the month.
okay, I think we have time for one more update.
And then the Housing Authority, Housing Authority is meeting with the Board of Selectmen in a couple of weeks to fill a vacancy. Diantha Gilmaris, who lives at the Housing Authority over at Parsons Lane, is the nominee from the Housing Authority. She'll be coming in to meet with the Housing Authority and the three of you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, let's do the next item because I think I can help you with that because I've,
Okay, and then on the wage and personnel proposal, the police chief had proposed that special police officers receive time and a half for working on a holiday. I had submitted a proposal, wage and personnel,
Yes.
for the fire department, because we had discussed that because of something that had come up a few months ago on that issue. I'm going to encourage the wage and personnel board, if they're interested in doing my proposal, to expand it to cover the special police officers, but I would be saying this only for time and a half for the three major holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's,
Mhm.
not the
Yes.
slate of federal holidays.
so I checked with Sandy and I believe that we can do that we can accommodate that.
Okay.
So, okay, so it is 8 o'clock and we have a meeting, oh, it's 7:59, but we'll start kind of early. Is everybody here?
Yes.
Okay, if you wanna come up to the front row, I think that's probably best. John McCauley?
Actually, it's Dawn.
Oh, Dawn, oh,
Confusion.
Well, we have to wait for John.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Look familiar.
I think we've met.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
How are
the
you?
face looks familiar.
Nice to see you again.
Hi, Tom Williams.
Hey,
Hi.
Tom,
Hi,
how are you?
pleasure.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Jump right in front of him.
Yeah.
What, you don't want to shake our hand? You want to be like that? I saw that motion.
Nice to meet you.
Well, maybe I could, well,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
is that okay?
Oh,
You
sure.
might want to just begin at the beginning.
Begin at the beginning. I thought I would just put
Assume
these,
that nobody here knows why you're here.
of course, that begs the most important question, do I know why I'm here?
Who am I? Why am I?
Who am I? May I move this a little?
Yes, please.
You may.
Yeah, I don't,
I should move this right onto the back of the room.
I was just gonna say that that gives you something to look at, which will give you some scale and scope, I hope.
Have you started work down there yet?
We are,
Well, can we begin at the beginning yet? So that
No,
our-
I just want to know because I went by there and I saw someone out there.
well, we're actually doing some pre-construction, like survey work. We're locating the corners of the lots. We're doing some, putting in some monuments so that the contractors will have something to tie to and
Yeah.
things like that.
So we're here talking about a solar field on
River
River Street. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
I'm encouraging you to start from the beginning.
From the beginning, okay, well,
Because we kind of know, but the people,
pardon me?
we,
For our TV viewing audience
May not
doesn't
know.
know that.
Oh, okay,
So-
well, geez, I
Yes.
forgot to put my makeup on. Anyway, my name is Bob Grant. I'm with Essex Capital Partners. We're based in Essex County, up in Boxford. And we are the developer, proponent, whatever you want to call us, of the proposed solar array, which we are looking to construct on River Street, just east of the River Street, Thompson Street intersection. Right near, this is Pratt coming into River, if you know the area. And basically, the property that we're dealing with is about a 40-acre piece of what everybody knows as the Hacios property, which runs, basically, it's quite an impressive piece of real estate. But where we're currently, well, take a step back. We are proposing the project to be part of what's called the SMART program, the SMART initiative that the Commonwealth rolled out, and they're in the process of continuing to roll out. We started working on this about a year and a half ago, or plus or minus. There had been really no engineering done on this site for an extended period of time, so we kind of had to start from scratch, wetland delineations, the whole 9 yards, environmental assessments. We've gone through the complete permitting process. We now have all of our use permits, Concom, Planning Board, site plan approval, natural, let me see, what is it, NHESP, Natural Heritage.
well.
Yes, so we have all of our, basically, what are referred to as our non-ministerial permits in hand. Ministerial permits are your building permit, your electrical permit. So where we stand is, we have an interconnection agreement with the utility, which is National Grid. And we have submitted this site to the SMART program through the Mass DOER. And DOER opened their, I don't know, again, I'll assume that you haven't been following it, like the rest of us. But DOER rolled out this program. They were going to roll it out in 2017, then it became early 2018, then it became May, then it became whatever, November. They finally opened the window. And they got submissions they got 2,500 applications in 5 business days. And they got, I don't know, 500-600 megawatts of submissions, which is a pretty substantial amount. And so what we have now, where we currently sit, is we've submitted this into the program. We are waiting for them to come back and tell us where we land in their, what they call block allocation, which is important because that's what determines what we get paid for the power we generate. The way they set it up
was they established a base rate for block one, and then for each successive block, the rate actually decreases. The total program is 1,600, I'll bore you with all the details, 1,600 megawatts. They created 8 blocks of 200 megawatts each. So if you're admitted into block one, you get a certain rate. If you aren't in block one, you automatically are just slotted into block two. The block two rate is 96% of block one.
Okay.
If you miss block two, you go into
But
block
block
three,
three,
the rate is 96% of block two, et cetera.
Oh, okay.
It's a big
Oh,
waterfall.
okay, so waterfall.
So between 1 and 8, you're talking about roughly a 25 plus or minus % reduction in what you get paid. I don't profess to know why they did that, and I'm not gonna try to
That
figure
was
out
my
why they did it.
question.
Yeah,
Politics and connections.
yeah, something about motivating developer, I don't know. So, the biggest issue we met with Charlie quite a while ago, I mean, it was probably, what, a good 6 months ago, and we said, obviously, we do wanna discuss a pilot. We'd love to, have something that everybody understands and we're all in agreement on. But it's tough for us to say, this is what this thing is potentially worth, because we don't know one of the biggest drivers, obviously, which is the revenue side. And we won't know the revenue side until we get this block allocation.
Yeah, until you find out what block you.
Yeah, and so we kind of put everything in the back burner while we pursued the permits, and I fully anticipated that by the time, I was here today, we would be able to say, oh yeah, this is our block allocation, this is our revenue, this is, now we know what we're looking at, and so that's one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle that we have got a solution for is interconnection. You apply to the interconnecting utility, they basically come in, they do a system impact study, they then come down and say, okay, guess what? We're, under law, we have to interconnect you, we have to provide you with interconnection at the DG level, meaning, at the street.
Is that new now, that they have to provide it?
Under this program, they have.
Because prior to that, it was the developer's responsibility to get it down there, right?
Oh, no, well, you just hit the nail on the head. They have to provide you with interconnection, but what they do is they figure out what it's gonna cost
Cost
you, and
you.
they send you a
Yeah,
bill.
okay, because I know it was.
okay.
Yeah, so we now know, we unfortunately now know what it's gonna cost us to interconnect the project. So, some of the economics are in place from a valuation standpoint, that's a big one, but some of them still aren't. So, that's kind of where we are. We've gotten to a point where, we hope to build it this year. We were hopeful to close on the land this week. We're hopeful to start construction, preliminary construction, demo of these structures, some of these concrete structures that are down there.
Careful for the munitions that might
Munitions
still
that
be
are on the
laying
ground.
there.
Well, yeah, we've actually pretty much assessed for those, and we think that,
They're further out.
well, everything that was
Closer
potentially
to the
done
road.
down there was pointed south, and we've got some historical information about what transpired sort of up in this very northern part, which was really nothing. It's really from these bunkers back that way. But,
That's what they all say.
Okay, that last 5 minutes
I'm
went over
sorry.
my head.
yeah,
I couldn't resist.
so I think where we are is, in order to move forward on a dialogue about
So you can't make a presentation to us as about what
Or at
benefit
least not on
us,
the
at least
pilot.
not of the pilot program until such time as you find out what block you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to talk, well, the whole idea is to start some dialogue, obviously, and try to figure out what makes sense. I mean, and I think we have a pretty good idea. I mean, when I say a pretty good idea, we know where the bookends are, right? I mean, we know what block 1 is, we know what block 8 is, we know where we applied, so we sort of, I can't say with 100% certainty where we're gonna land,
But you have some.
What do you feel comfortable saying? Like between
3 and
2
4.
I was just gonna say 2 and 4.
Yeah, probably, yeah. See, block 1, they went out in what they call the procurement round, and they actually took applications last December.
Timber.
Okay.
And so part of that got chewed up in that procurement round. 2, probably not. 3, it's a bell
Maybe.
curve, right? It's kind of like, okay, probabilities go up and then they'll start to fall off again. So it's
Okay.
3, 4, I'd say 5. I know it's not 7,
Okay,
so there you go. I mean, that's kind of,
Okay.
those are the bookends.
okay.
I'd say 2 to 7.
Charlie, refresh me, did we talk about this at town meeting last year in terms of
Getting,
authorization to negotiate a pilot? Because typically we've been
I
doing
know,
that.
because it's 2 steps. Usually, and there have been times when we've done both. If we've been informally negotiating agreements and then it's ready to go, we'll bring both out to the town meeting.
Yeah.
I have to go back and check.
But
I don't
we typically-
remember.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't remember.
I remember discussing
We
it, I
may
just
have
don't know.
done with a different project.
Yeah, that's what I was,
But I don't think we
no, you
did-
know what, it was probably the Franklin Street
It may
project.
have
Yeah.
been.
Because we
But I-
authorized the Board of Assessors to continue negotiating the pilot, right? And that's what I
I mean,
remember.
we've been in informal discussions about this.
Right,
But
right,
obviously
okay.
without all the numbers in place.
I just got them confused with the other
Yeah.
project, yeah.
The only
But-
thing,
There's nothing preventing the board from putting an article on, we're expecting to have a town meeting next month, to at least get the formally
Yeah.
get the negotiations started approved.
That's all I
And
was
then if,
trying to go
if
for.
come May, we're ready to sign on the dotted line, then we can have an article at the
Right.
May town meeting.
Right.
Did I miss anything?
you look awful familiar. I don't say you look awful, but you do look familiar.
Awful's actually a good step up for me. But, no, thank you, board. I'm Don McCauley. I'm with a lawyer with the law firm of McCauley Lyman, our small firm in Framingham, and we focus on renewable energy development, solar project development throughout the nation, really, though much of the activity is nowadays in Massachusetts, which is nice for the home life in terms of traveling. We originally started out really working mostly for California projects, and we've had the pleasure of working on this project for the last couple of months, and working the financing, and now we're in the final development stages. And we want to start the process of negotiating a pilot agreement, and that's another piece of what we need to do for the project.
Just out of curiosity, you may or may not know, of course, Pilgrim is in the process of, I guess, shutting down.
Deactivating here.
What is that gonna take out of the grid? I remember somebody talking about a number of
The number I heard is 800 megawatts.
800, okay.
I think that's the generating capacity.
Now you're saying by 220 or they're gonna have that done?
You know, the last I heard, and I don't really follow it that closely, but originally it was set up
For
to
19,
be,
right?
yeah, to be closed this year, and then they asked for an extension, and some of the environmental groups were threatening to litigate.
Yeah, and a lot of it had to do with
Forced
the
closure.
disposition of the rods.
Well, Synergy still owns it, but they're talking, there were terms of being sold off to another agency, the agency that's doing the cleanup.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, Massachusetts went out with a, well, no, was it the federal government leased a bunch of land, out in a bunch of ocean area
Mhm.
for wind development. And I'm pretty sure that one of the winning bidders, I believe their theory is to just basically run a connection back to Plymouth
Back to the plant?
and to plug right into the infrastructure. I mean, the infrastructure's there.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I mean, you're just taking one generation source and
Yeah,
plugging in
yeah.
a different one, yeah, they do the retrofit, but you got the whole distribution network that
Right.
exists. And, that's what I thought I heard. I mean, we're not in that business, so.
Yeah,
And this, this scale, this is, they call it utility scale, but the cap for this program is 5 megawatts, so it's not, I mean, these aren't
Yeah, it's not gonna really,
Pilgrim
yeah,
size.
right. I never thought that, I was just curious.
But the cumulative of all the blocks is a material amount.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The program is designed for another 1,600 megawatts of solar, on top of that, 2,000 megawatts of solar.
There's a
already
lot of,
built.
there's a lot of solar going in. I officiate for the building department in Plimpton, and we've got a lot of sites already, and we've got 4 more sites proposed. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
So how many other projects have you in the works right now? Is this the only one, or you have other work, other towns?
in terms of what we're up to,
what you're up to.
we're kinda like a one-trick pony. I mean, we do one project at a time. We really don't have multiple projects. The theory being, I'd rather be, would rather get one of them right than screw up four.
Yeah.
This is our fifth project overall. We did four in Vermont, actually. This is our first Massachusetts project.
Awesome.
Oh,
And
first date,
Pardon me?
our first date.
Yeah, and it's because, it's just, a lot of it is just waiting for the state incentives to basically line up. And, we started looking at Mass quite a while ago, but you have to wait for the smart, wait for the program to roll out and eventually you get close. And then it's be in the right place at the right time, it sounds like.
So I guess next steps would be to, as Charlie mentioned, to talk about,
We'll check to see whether
Authorizing.
we can get an article at town meeting in February. Also, obviously, you've been trading notes back with the Board of Assessors, and council has been working with the Board of Assessors on this, but until we get all the numbers in the right places, we really can't come to a real pilot number, so. But we have an idea of the range, but
Yeah.
it's just that right now.
One of the things I would mention, and I'm not trying to presuppose any negotiations, but one of the issues that has prevented this site from being developed ever, and I know it was zoned industrial literally 40, 50,
yes.
60 years ago, and it's been, as I understand the history, is the lack of infrastructure. It's been one of the major stumbling blocks. And we are looking squarely at the expense and down the barrel of having to fund that, and it's going to be a very, very significant number. And
Where do you have to run lines to?
the Mill Street substation back in, say is that in Bridgewater?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was afraid of there. That's a distance.
So you're talking about, well, actually what happens is we come out of here and we go up Pratt and
Yeah.
we end up tying into an existing three-phase.
So there is three-phase out there, but isn't that Middleborough?
No, there's three-phase up at the intersection of, I wanna say, is it East and Thompson maybe? Does that sound right? Does East Street run into Thompson?
Yes, just
Yeah.
the southern.
Yeah.
Southern end of it.
So there's a three-phase feeder that comes, I believe, down east, but then it turns, rather than going south, it goes north. So we have to come out of here, we gotta get all the way back up
Wow.
to east. Then we have to tie in there, and then there are upgrades all the way back to
A
the
lot of trench
substation.
digging.
It's
Wow.
overhead.
No, it's all overhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
you're not
nice.
going underground with cable?
Taller poles, it's pole
Yeah.
location, line poles, and all kinds of stuff.
It's basically all new infrastructure from east all the way down, and then from the east going the other way. I'm not sure exactly what it's gonna look like. But it's gonna be, I mean, and hopefully it's a good news, bad news, or it's good news. I mean, once three-phase power lands down here, there's gonna be an opportunity to open up basically this particular parcel, I think, if
For expansion.
if the incentive or the motivation or the idea is to continue sort of industrial uses, attractive industrial uses into that area. For example, we know that there's a user that's, you know all about it, that's looking to go right next to us. Well, right now they don't have any power. And, once we end up building up the infrastructure, that'll help facilitate them landing, which is going to be a macro benefit. Hopefully, all of that can not
Yeah.
get way in the next.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely pricey, because I know when they did the line construction up on 58, that was well over $1 million, just to run up to where they did, and that was kind of a straight shot.
Yeah, this is more.
Yeah, oh, I know, that's why I was asking.
Yeah. But, so, I think, I know that, from our standpoint, we'd love to move it forward. I guess the next steps would be,
Town meeting.
For us to go to town meeting to get authorization to negotiate
sure,
Yeah.
is our step. And so luckily, we have a special town meeting coming up
okay,
in the next month or so.
oh, great,
So timing is actually
Yeah,
pretty good.
perfect timing for you to come in.
great.
You live in Framingham?
I actually live in Wellesley. Currently town moderator in Wellesley,
Awesome.
past selectman, so, yeah, good.
Maybe at one of the meetings, but you look familiar.
Okay.
I've been sitting on this board for 28 years, so I know a few
They're
faces.
very bored that he's sitting
Yeah.
there now.
Same pair of shoes, I understand, really.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Well, thank
but
you so much
As
for
long as
coming
they're
in.
not on the ground, they're working sound.
We appreciate you taking the drive and doing the presentation, and as we mentioned
I'm
earlier, it's
sure we
perfect
know what we're
time,
doing.
so that we can make sure that we get the article together.
Great. Well, thank
Yep,
you
we
very
look
much.
forward
Thank
to
you.
meeting with you and working this out.
Yeah.
Have a good evening. Oh,
Terrific.
You
Thank
you
you.
driving?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wake up.
I know, it's a long way to come, right? Halifax is a long way from Wellesley.
Fortunately, it's not snowing, so I guess.
Right?
Makes it so,
Oh,
yeah.
isn't,
Yeah.
isn't that the truth? That's
Although it
the-
definitely felt like winter today, for sure.
All right, I'm gonna let him put his hand up first, so we're not competing.
Good luck.
My own, very.
Make sure I get these right. There's,
My brother played with the Patriots.
nice to see you again.
Nice to meet you. Stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
Safe travels.
Thanks.
See you, yeah.
Take care.
Safe travels. Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Thank you so much. Okey dokey, Spidokie. We will move right into the chief and Miss Noreen. Would you please come up to the front?
Come
We
on
are here
down.
to talk to the chief and Noreen about becoming a matron, which I'm quite excited about.
Did you say maitre d'? I mean,
Matron, not maitre d'.
So our animal control, she'll have dual roles.
Yes.
are you just so talented?
I'm sorry. So I've come here tonight to request the board appoint Maureen Callahan to one of our matron positions. She's been a valued member of our police department as an animal control officer since 2013. They should do a great job. We're expanding the program. We're actually, there's things in the work to do a regional matron program with the surrounding towns. So I think she'll be a great asset to it, for that program.
You're not gonna let her carry a gun, are you?
Well, the good news is we don't have to ask too many questions of Doreen, because we know it, so.
Yes, she's used to keeping everything in control.
Yeah, she brought a lot of Florida heat with her when she came.
Not enough.
Yes, yes.
So how do you feel about that, Noreen?
I feel great about it.
I do everything you tell me to do.
Well, I would move, unless the board has other questions for Noreen, I would move that we appoint Miss Noreen as a matron to work in the surrounding facilities, just in Halifax.
In Halifax, right?
Halifax.
But yeah, but once the program becomes regional, then she'll be able to work in the
Yeah.
other towns also.
So do I have a second?
Second.
And this is for a term expiring June 30th, 2019.
Yeah, and you'll be renewed after that. It's a club that you can't ever graduate from.
Yeah. Hotel California.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then do you have anybody else for us to appoint?
Not for,
Matron?
well, like renewals?
Yeah, you're all set,
I
yeah.
think I should be all set. yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, everybody else should be up to date.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, because I thought we reappointed everybody
Kim,
back in
that's something.
December.
Believe-
I'm gonna sign it. All right, Noreen, and then you have to go get sworn
Just
in.
come down to see Barbara tomorrow. Just give
And
them
Get
the-
sworn in.
Enjoyed
me to
our
give her the card?
conversation at breakfast this morning, that was
Nice.
nice.
It was-
I give it to Barbara. No, no.
You do not take possession of that card until you get sworn in.
No, no, I'll give it to Barbara, 'cause I give her a little memo with it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in, appreciate
Everybody can
it.
go home
Chief?
now, it's a wonderful thing.
Goodbye,
Have a good night.
goodbye.
It was, actually, I had my dinner for, my breakfast for dinner today,
Ah,
tonight.
perfect.
Thank you, chief. Nice to see you. Okay,
Somebody
so
leave the water there?
we have we have like 5 minutes before our next appointment.
Just on the gas tank project at the highway department, the mobilization and demolition should begin the last week of January. Installation should begin the last third of February with final inspections the first week of March. That's the plan at this point. I do need a change order approved for $5,900 for delivery and rental of temporary tanks for 60 days. That's gonna be the period between when the old tanks are disabled and the new tanks are put online.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need the board to authorize Kim Roy to sign a notification of employment for Andrew Lazinski as a patrol officer for the town of Halifax.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Speaking of solar arrays, we just have a notice, there's no action needed by the board, but the Balker, who's the folks who are doing the Franklin Street solar field, have gone back to the Conservation Commission for a change in the order of conditions. They're saying, proposed work consists of pollarding of the trees from the edge of the tree line to 25 feet into the wetland. And all the plans are upstairs with the Conservation Commission if the board has any interest. We did receive a request from the Highway Union for an updated employee list, just standard information
Yeah.
and such, but I wanted the board to be aware of that. We did receive a notification from the Employment Relations Board that the Highway Union has filed against the town in terms of, it's alleging that we had violated Steve Waterman's rights as a union member when we had the hearing a few weeks ago, I guess based on the release of the information from the hearing.
Okay.
So I've notified Attorney Gilman of that, and so that matter is going to the Relations Board, and we'll get to it, the dates and such, when we have hearing dates and such set up for that. So copies of that, let's see. Make sure I've got everything there.
You have 4 more minutes.
Okay, Jean Gallant, Library Director at the Holmes Public Library, had sent over they've done a new packet of information. Welcome to Halifax, a community resource guide that has information about the library and community groups in the town itself. We wanted the board to make sure that the members were
nice.
aware that it would come through, and if the board wants to take a look at it,
That's
they're
great.
available.
Oh, nice.
We had gotten a call back in late December about a possible beaver dam near South Street that, with the rain that was coming in at the time,
Overflow?
might have caused an overflow. I didn't get anything more after that. I referred the matter back then to the Highway Department, and I'm waiting to hear back whether Steve actually found a dam or any problems there. But I didn't receive any subsequent calls from the residents, so I hope these things resolve itself one way or the other. We did talk to George Latini over at BR's already. We've already handled Noreen's appointment. Do you want to wait until after our next appointment to talk about the town meeting?
We have 3 more minutes, so it's up to you.
So, well, it's simple at this point is that I'd like the board to schedule a special town meeting for Monday, February 25th, starting at 7:30 over at the elementary school. Primary reason would be to provide additional funding for the fire suppression system, since my expectation is bids will be coming in higher than the money we have available. I do recommend at the same time the board open the warrant for that meeting and close it next 2 weeks from now on January 22nd at 8 o'clock that evening. That will still give us plenty of time to put the warrant in order, go to the finance committee and such.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we have ambulance abatements for November of 2018 for 2,537, and then 2 parts. First part for December is 111,755.53, and then the second part for December is 4,240.
Is this using the new system that we've set in? with
This
the-
would be the new system, the new billing system, yes. We don't have any results yet that I'm aware of, based on conversations with Sandy last night as to how the receipts are trending in billing. I think it's gonna be another month or 2 before we get a much better idea. In the first few months of this fiscal year, we were still operating on the old system, and it usually takes somewhere between 30 and 90 days after the bills are issued for the money to come in for the most part, so we'll have a better idea very soon.
Thank you.
I still need the board to approve the abatements.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so it's 8:30. Okay. Phil?
Yes.
Yes, I remembered your name.
Yes, you did, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, it's nice to see you.
Exactly.
Looks the same as it did last year.
No, you got the
My
beard.
name hasn't changed, but I did.
You-
The
Someone made a
beard.
comment, what does it look like with the beard? I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
So Phil, can you remind me of your last name?
Phil Taylor.
Phil Taylor.
So,
Yes.
yeah, I'll tell you, you guys are very punctual, because it's right on the dot.
I know, I was looking, yes.
No, I'm not used to that. So, if you guys are ready?
Yes.
So first, I just want to extend Scott's apologies for not being able to make it here. When the scheduling was happening, it was the date of January 11th, which was.
I think we had it confusing, that we were saying Tuesday, January 11th, and so it could have been Tuesday, January 8th, or Friday, January 11th.
We apologize.
That's fine. He saw the 11th, I'm out of town till the 10th, fine. And then when he realized it's the 8th, I got the, can you go down here? Absolutely. So, are you familiar with at all with why I'm here?
I understand that you're looking for us to extend some of the horse shows.
Yes, so pretty sure we're all familiar with the consent decree, and go over that, details, but what specifically happened, so he was approached by, the New England Dressage Association, and with me are 3 members of that association, here today. And he was approached by them to do a show they want to, start up, that they want to add to their program of events, and they want to host it at Fieldstone Farm. You may be familiar, it was actually mentioned, they used to deal with the ZBA, I think, when Mr. Millings might have been on it, because they were about 14 years, they used to do a show at Fieldstone Farm, and then that show moved to another facility. And I think, did you say you outgrew?
Outgrew it.
Yeah, so they outgrew the facility, Fieldstone, so they moved to another facility, and now they want to start out with a smaller show, and bring that to Fieldstone. It's a show, they said about, so we'll have about 150 entries, and it will be a 2-day show over the weekend. I believe it will be, they're looking at the first week of June, which is the 1st and the 2nd.
And how does it fall into the schedule? Is that,
So that's why we're here. So,
Okay.
so the consent decree provides for two restrictions to the shows. One is 7 multi-day events. This would be the 7th multi-day event. However, there's also a 30 show day limitation. So this show would put Scott 2 days over the 30.
okay,
There's also an additional request for Scott like to add 1 additional show day from one of his already existing events. It's the Silver Oaks Jumper.
that's one in August.
That's the one in August, and he wants to add an additional day for that. The additional day he wants to add would actually be August 25th, which is a Sunday. So his show's generally been running Wednesday through Sunday, and that show actually, it's tentatively scheduled right now, Tuesday through Saturday, with the hope of adding that Sunday for their finals. And that ends up being, I think that's his largest show
Yeah.
of the year. It's the one that's actually televised. I think you guys are familiar, it's actually predominantly run by another individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
The book.
So it sounds like you guys are all very familiar.
We have the book.
I vaguely do remember hearing that
Yeah.
there was a book. So that's, in a nutshell, what Scott's looking for. He's looking to add 2 days to the schedule, and then that 1 extra day for a total of 3 days. Although one of the reasons why I'm here tonight is next Tuesday, the 15th, is his deadline to provide the show dates. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here and it's not put off a week, because we're not gonna cut things that close, wanted to get this discussion started. So,
Wow.
now, I don't know if there's a question yet about, can you guys do this? And so when I was looking over the consent decree, my reading of it is, yes, you can. And specifically,
My more specific question is, do we have to do it?
that's gonna be a question
Yeah,
of.
well, I know the answer.
I think I'd give you one answer, but it's probably, with the town council, what they would think. I would note it's on page 4, paragraph 8, the last sentence, where additional horse shows may be held with the approval of the Board of Selectmen. My recollection from back then was probably one of the reasons we added such language would be to provide such flexibility, because one of the reasons where we had to modify this with the original agreement was from '93, and after about 20-odd years, times change.
And it took about 7 or 8 meetings, I think.
It took a little while,
Yeah.
cash it
A
out,
lot.
and I know,
Yeah.
there was actually a number of changes, I know
Yeah.
there was, and some of the changes I think we also clarified was we took the enforcement issues out of court as being the primary place of enforcement, which is where nobody but us attorneys usually would wanna be, and to bring some more local control down to it. So, I guess that's where we're at. If you have any questions about New England Dressage Association or this show in particular, they'd be happy to share that.
Speaking for myself, it isn't the shows, it's the effort that we all went through to finally come up with an agreement, and then we're 20 minutes into it, I'm exaggerating, of course, and now we wanna alter it again. And then, you know, are we gonna go, and next year it's 5 shows, and then it's 7 more shows. You know, we've got neighbors, we've got abutters, still got complaints about loudspeakers and whatnot. At the end of this conversation, I think we need to refer to our own counsel in any event. But just to give you some idea of what my feelings are, is I don't find myself too readily interested in extending the dates. But I'm not speaking for anyone else other than
Well,
myself.
my feeling on the situation is that you're talking about he's got a deadline at the 15th in order to put these shows on? Is that what you're telling me, next Tuesday?
Commit for 'em.
That's the deadline to provide the initial schedule, is the 15th. And, so that's what it is. And that has to do with in part because of, you know, printing and advertising, and setting.
The logistics.
And the logistics. I can address some of your statements. I don't know, Mr. Gary, you have anything else to add? I'll try to address maybe everyone at once.
Well, I guess my question is that that's a very short period of time for us to expect the expectation to make a decision tonight on something because he's got a deadline on the 15th of next week. If I'm not ready to make that decision right now, then what?
I would hope that by the end of the night, if you're not ready to make a decision, I would have a good understanding of what the concerns are to address. And then we would be looking at, I think your next meeting happens to also be the 15th. You know, I think that, you know, it's for him to comply with that deadline, he would probably submit proposed dates, including the dates that he's looking for, and then the discussion would continue where he's either gonna get those extra dates or he'd be pulling them back.
Yeah, I just have a question for Charlie. It's just a
Okay.
logistic question. I know that when we had opened up the agreement, and again, it was extensive, and you know, I thought that we worked really well trying to come up with a positive agreement. And we had invited some of the abutters, just to make sure that they understood the process and that they knew about the extra, you know, whatever the things we were negotiating. So, did we let the neighbors know?
Yes.
Oh, so nobody's here?
I did get one phone call
Okay,
from one abutter.
perfect.
They mentioned specifically, for instance, the PA system, they think it's too loud, and in fact, basically, there are too many announcements. I know it sounds a little weird, but they likened it to being inside a Kmart, where the loudspeakers from the
blue lights.
yeah, there's constant, you know, go to the food court, we're selling hot dogs for $1, or there's a parking, you know, somebody's blue station wagon is in a spot, it's gonna have to be towed. They don't want to have to be sitting in their backyard listening to all those announcements. Now, I don't know if it's a matter of changing the loudspeaker orientation, so that the sound goes away from the abutting properties. I don't know whether, given it's 2019, whether there are other ways of getting the word out to participants, for instance, you know, a text blast for things like where, you know, the blue car needs to be moved, or some sort of app where people get information, you know, announcements and like that, sort of live announcements during the.
We don't meet the 15th. No.
So I tell him that weekly.
No.
So I mean, but that was one thing. Second is people pulling into the neighbors' driveways. They'd like to see better prominent signs pointing to Fieldstone Farms, so that someone doesn't go down their driveway, figures out, oh, I'm in the wrong place, and turns around and makes a mess of their yard or makes a mess of their driveway. It sounds minor, but if you have, if you have.
Not to the neighbor. no.
Right, yeah, and the third was a question, and I don't know how relevant it was to the neighbor, but the person brought it up, was about a berm that had been placed and a stream being blocked at some point, and something I need
Do you
to
know when
check.
that was done?
Well, I don't know, I have to check with the Conservation Commission on the wetlands issues there.
Is it the original berm?
It might, in the berm that was put up when they were dealing with a butter,
Animals.
different butter there.
Yes.
And I think we're on the same page
Yeah.
here, we're talking about the burn between that and the former kennel.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
and I don't think there was a stream,
Well, I don't know, I have to find out. So, but we did get one call from one abutter with those matters, but it's also, I mean, I think the board would be prudent to review the agreement again, consult with council, and if the council, given what we've gone through during the 2 years since then, are there issues that have arisen with other town departments and such that we may need to have some language changed to assist them in their work?
Well, so to address, to start with the loudspeaker, I guess one, I don't know if any of us know, has any of this been brought to Scott's attention before?
Probably not.
And that's the thing, so if nothing's been brought to his attention before, then it's nothing that could have been addressed before. I know he does wanna be a good neighbor, and I know, I do recall there was, I think, one neighbor with regard to, the noise issue, don't know if it's the same one, but I'll bring that up to him, and I'm sure he will look into those issues.
We weren't asking people until we had the request, so
Oh,
just to
understood,
be
but-
fair.
But I don't recall too many of these neighbors being shy to raise an issue with problems, and I'm pretty sure I recall being here, making it very clear, if any neighbor had an issue, they could walk right up to Scott, tell him, so he can address it. The pulling into other people's driveways, I'm sure he can address that to make sure that any signage is addressed at his driveway to make it clear. But again, we all know, if he hasn't been brought to his attention, then he can't do anything. These will be brought to his attention, and such as like what can be done about the how are the speakers done, directions,
Yeah.
frequency. So, I guess one issue overall is just so the agreement did contemplate about, adjusting with the show schedule. And I believe, it was wisely left in there because that is probably the smaller issue of the overall agreement, because the agreement addressed, I think, the safety concerns of the town,
Following
fire-
rules,
following rules,
yeah.
enforcement procedures,
Yeah.
those are things. And in order to make sure all the shows run
Yeah.
properly, because I think one of the stipulations in the beginning of the agreement that was always in there is that this was, this isn't allowed use, it was permitted.
Mhm.
Through difference of opinion of, many years ago. It came to that being, but like when time happens. I do know that, I believe the New England dressage that is something that I think he would be looking for, I think we're all anticipating, if they're permitted to do this show, that it would work well for them.
Mhm.
And so I do believe that's something he might be looking at as a continuing thing.
Okay.
Again, something we can take on a step-by-step basis, but I'm not sure if the entire agreement has to be opened up.
Aren't we by default opening it up because we would be editing it?
Well, no, what we're doing is, that line, the additional horse shows may be held with the approval of the selectmen. So the bulk of the agreement addresses, I think, things to control the actual size of the show. I think
Yeah.
We have the number of entries for the horses, when people can start coming and going, to deal with traffic, the safety issues with regard to medical and police.
Yes,
I think the food safety issues.
and
were-
having buildings within compliance.
I don't know if that was in the agreement, or if
Well,
that's an
that's
outside
something,
issue.
yeah, that's an outside issue, so
So-
I'm gonna speak my truth right now, if you
Okay,
don't
and
mind.
I can talk about the building, I don't know if it's the
Yeah,
same building.
I think it is, but I just
Okay.
wanna just speak my truth for a second. I would like nothing more than to support our local business, honestly. And it's something that I am open to, but I also need to be clear about my disappointment in the fact that when we've been asking about said building, that it took a very long long period
It's the
to
gazebo
be
with the
addressed.
second floor.
A
Yeah.
very long period. I'm gonna
Not to
say,
mention that the gazebo with the second floor was built not in accordance with the permit that was issued. I mean, we're not even going to
Well,
that.
actually, I think that I don't think is entirely correct.
okay, so
Well, we can argue about
I
that
had some
sometime.
disappointment in how long it took to resolve. Only because you sat through those meetings, and I thought it was a pretty positive process. I mean, we really exhausted ourselves to make sure that everybody was being served.
I'm prepared to talk about that gazebo.
Okay, because that's my only issue, because if Scott was here, I would say that to him. I would say, listen, that was not a fair thing, because, you know, we in good faith, and you promised that you would follow the rules.
So, with regard to the gazebo, what you guys may think, from what I know of that situation, because I have been somewhat involved with it,
Okay.
kind of on the sideline, hoping not to be put into the game, so to speak. I think a lot of that falls on the contractor. So Scott hired a let me just.
Yeah, I wanna
Okay,
hear
So
I'll
Scott
let
hired, Scott hired a contractor to handle that for him, to pull the permits. I think this one building, I think one of the issues was when the plans and the drawings were brought down to the building inspector, there's a question as to how clear it was that it was a two-story building. I believe when the building inspector first saw it, didn't believe it was a two-story building. Now, whether, these are ready-made plans of the gazebo, the contractor to build it.
May I stop you for a second? Have you seen what was originally proposed, or are you assuming that?
No, I saw the original
Okay.
plans, so I can see it from both sides.
Thank you.
I can, I don't look at a lot of plans, but I can see where the builder is saying, this is what it is. And the building inspector, oh, I didn't think that was the second floor. But regardless of how that happened, this wasn't Scott's doing. Scott hired people to handle this, and the buck stops with him. So then,
Okay, as long as we're clear on that.
Yeah.
And he was there, he saw what was going on.
well, all right, so
Which is irrelevant to specifically this issue, but
But
while we're talking about it.
you have an understanding of that. So while Scott was under the impression it's a two-story building, so he believes it's going. Then when the building inspector realized, oh wait, this is actually two stories. So the building inspector then required changes and things. And then some of the delays are caused because Scott tried to get his builder to fix his problem, to come in, follow this, and there was a lot of problems there. I believe at a point that Scott, I think, had to get his own engineer to satisfy the town's requirements. I think the town wanted an engineer to review things.
Yeah, and it was,
to-
so my issue was that there were several attempts that we were going out of our way again to try to help fix the problem.
And I understand it, and then the issue is Scott's trying to get the person responsible, because these are not, inexpensive issues to resolve. Trying to get that person responsible to fix this before you start having to double your cost, so to speak.
Sure.
So I think that my understanding is they're at the point there, and I think, as far as I know, I think everything is worked out to a satisfactory point right now, and I believe, and that's one of the delays for coming here. My understanding is that the building inspector has signed off or is signing off on it. However, the gazebo cannot be used for the shows.
It can't be used for commercial use, it
Right,
can only be
correct.
used
It's
for residential
residential.
use,
I
which
think
is
the way-
difficult, but that's the
I think
way.
it's, and I understand,
Yeah.
I think that means right now it's decorative.
Yes,
Okay.
so for me, as long as the rule is gonna be followed, if I ever sniff anybody up there doing commercial, then that would
So,
be bad.
well, what I believe is the next thing that's going to happen with that building is, I believe the issue with commercial is access to the second floor.
Right. At least one of the issues.
If there are other issues.
Well, no, I'm just not stating that is the only issue. I don't know if
Oh,
there are
okay,
other
okay.
issues.
All right, so, I mean, whatever is, my understanding is the building inspector is to sign off, and he's only gonna sign off if the only issue is access to the second floor, and that basically takes it from family use, decorative for the property versus can't use it for the, and by family, like residential.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Scott can go hang out in it, but
Yeah.
nobody else can.
Is that, when was the last you've heard that?
That was.
Just in the last week or so?
Maybe, like,
Okay.
I think it even.
I think he's accurate.
I think I got
Okay,
it, because Scott told me that I think he's expecting that to be
Okay.
signed off. And
All right.
And it was about a week ago, I think.
I think you're right.
Okay, so
So-
I
So
haven't
the
heard
issue
that
with
one.
that is, if Scott decides to go forward, is I believe we have to go to the Architectural Design Board,
Architectural Access Board.
the Architectural Access
You get a
Board,
waiver.
and we have to apply for a waiver.
Okay,
I spoke with them a while ago about that when we were exploring that option, and there are ways, it sounds like there are feasible ways to satisfy them, to make it eventually to be used. So that's something that's to be
okay,
dealing with it.
thank
But
you.
I just wanna say, I mean, it is regretful the delays, but unlike some of the issues I think in the past, this is where, it was unfortunate, but when Scott goes out, he hires a professional to do something, and then finding out that what he had them doing, and they weren't straightforward.
I
And then
guess-
trying to get them to fix it.
I can understand that, and I can respect that, but my issue was the lack, it's the crickets. The lack of response, the lack of communication, us reaching out. That's the thing that we tried to avoid, and I think those are the things that this is separate from this request in my mind, but I feel like I need to explain to you
And I'm
that
here
we
to-
sat here, as you know, and we promised and promised, all of us, to say, we're gonna allow this, you do this, and I thought we had a nice mutual agreement that we were gonna go forward, and that whole gazebo thing happened shortly after
It
that.
did.
Yeah.
It did, and so that's
None of
not,
us are happy about it.
okay.
And there were some
Thank
other
you.
issues too, in their not timely reports on the well water to the Board of Health.
Oh, I forgot about
Uh,
that.
That I'm not aware of, and so, I mean, that's one of the things, I was actually, I was just gonna open that door, because my hope would be is with regard to the other things, is that there, that's all being addressed. I don't know what the timeliness issue of the well,
Yeah, I don't have the specific dates, because I wasn't gonna get into that, but
And I don't personally wanna hold up another business from being able to do their business, but certainly, I feel like I needed to myself verbalize my frustration with,
if
The
we're not told what the
situation.
problem is, then we can't fix them.
Well,
no, he knew the
well,
problem.
that wasn't an unknown problem.
Well,
I'm
I
sorry.
guess,
It's not an unknown problem.
we're talking about the gazebo or the water?
Both.
Both,
Okay, well, the gazebo, his lack of communication maybe.
yeah,
Of what he was doing to try to get it done, I can see that
I
being a problem.
understand.
Because he's trying to get this one. The water, I will bring up with him the water.
Thank you.
From his perspective, and this, I'm just speculating, is whether if he was late, but if the Board of Health was okay with it, or
No, I think his issue is he doesn't still think he needs to do it.
now.
Can I be clear? Is that all
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Is that a fair
that was
statement?
Well-
that was my perception as well.
To be fair, I think it's not
So-
about
so-
whether he thinks he needs to do it, I think he has those timelines and he puts his,
Do
he
you-
knows he puts his shows in check.
Do you understand, at least where my sentiments are coming from here?
Yes.
I mean, we're being asked to constantly do things for him, whereas his response for items that he needs to take care of, lackadaisical at best. So, it's a little difficult to be supportive of him when we're not feeling the love in return, if you follow where I'm going with that.
I do, but I think,
I know you're here to defend him, so you're not gonna
Yeah,
go down
you're
that other
right.
road in any event, but I just want you to understand where I'm coming from.
I understand where you're coming from, but I think, there's two sides to every story.
Yeah,
And I think he has, in looking at it, things from the outside, of seeing how different situations, might be handled. But the thing is, we wanna make,
Yeah.
he, wants to be able to use the property for what it's intended use.
sure.
One thing I learned tonight, which I had no idea, is I didn't understand that how high level his property is considered in the horse arena, in the horse competitions.
Mhm.
Did not realize
Yeah.
what level it was at. So I think, this is
Yeah.
regardless of who you think of the
Yeah.
owner, this is a very nice thing in Halifax.
Well, I'm
Sure.
also thinking about the abutters too. I mean, because every extra day impacts their lives.
Understood, and, I think this is, what was the first one, a smaller show. I can let, they can comment about and they hear the issues about the loudspeakers, so I know they'll be, very conscious of that. This show is,
And just to be clear, it has nothing to do with this show.
no,
It has to do with the ownership. And for me, again, I'm not speaking for anyone else.
they understand that. I believe what I was told is, they did a lot of, when they were there 14, before they outgrew the facility, they used to deal directly with the town for a while to make sure the shows run smoothly. But I understand your concerns. One, other than the gazebo, which I know his communication right to the town might have been lacking, but that's because he's yelling at someone else to go do their job. No, I know, but there's only.
It's still his responsibility. in
You're a
my
very
mind.
good attorney.
And the thing is, and he addressed it, and he,
Yeah, eventually,
he had to.
after being hammered and hammered and hammered about it.
When it got to the point where the person who was supposed to do it wasn't doing it, he had to then go get his own engineers, he had to take things into his own hands. Would have been ideal if he did things earlier, but it wasn't an inexpensive project. You give someone a lot of money to do something, you want them to do it.
Right, and when you sit and you spend, I don't know, I'm thinking it was over 30 hours trying to, come up with an agreement, and people promise that they're gonna,
Be
be
responsive.
communicative and, do, because this is not a new pattern, right? Like, just because I understand, and you're a very good attorney for trying to defend the issue. I give you that, Phil, really. But when you sit here, and not you, but we all sat here and we did this agreement, and we all promised. And then I understand that you're saying, well, it was somebody else's fault. That's exactly the kinds of things that we used to hear and that we all agreed was never gonna be said again.
And a lot of the issues we focus on more with the shows, the conduct of the
Yes,
shows,
yes.
having a second conduct. I
Yes.
think the issue with the building inspector is once
Okay.
removed issues, it's not related to the shows, it's related to building something on the
I
property.
understand.
And basically,
But the
Getting
water
that
has to
on.
do with the shows.
water has to do with the shows.
That has to
absolutely.
do with the shows.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
So
that would, in my mind, have to be
that
addressed.
that will be.
Has it been addressed?
Well, for right now, of course, because we haven't had any shows.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
have.
right.
It's not happening right now.
Yeah, the water issues, I will start, I think, there's a certain point when the wells get opened
Yeah.
and the testing process starts.
I would just
and-
need insurance that that was gonna be done with no question at all. I would need assurances that he is going to follow that rule. That's important to
I
me.
don't think his shows can go forward.
Okay,
I think the Board of Health has the power to shut him down.
okay.
Yeah,
So I think the only assurance I can get you is he will hear from me in no uncertain terms.
Yeah.
About that and making sure that gets done. And the Board of Health, I think, will have the power to deal with that. I presume, I don't know how they do it, is that once his show schedule is established, the water testing schedule will be pretty much established, right? So it'll be very clear right from that exactly what those dates are.
I don't
Okay.
wanna spend his money via you, but I would suggest you might wanna touch base with the Board of Health and see what other issues there may have been along the way, cause I know there's a lot of last minute vendor issues and those types of things. But I don't have that exact information, and I'm not gonna swear to the reliability of it, but it may be something.
His requirements with the Board of Health, which in the water, it's clear.
Okay,
I mean, I don't know what the issue is to indicate why certain things happen. All I know is I think what he needs to do, I think, was clear from when we were at the meetings before.
Yep.
He'll get the reminder from me,
Perfect.
and I think he'll understand that his shows are in jeopardy because, I don't know what the water option,
I don't remember, all I heard was I was told that it wasn't really,
If he can't use his wells, I believe he has to tie into the town water.
Yeah, and he may have done that, but some of the well water is used for something, and I can't remember exactly what it was.
I believe what it has to do with, if I remember right, and please, I may misspeak, so my recollection is that the well water is not used for human consumption. However, because the spigots are accessible on the property,
Right.
it has to meet the certain
Right,
standards.
'cause they
in
could be.
case someone does what they're not supposed to
Supposed to
do and ignores the signs and everything else. All the vendors with regard to food, I believe they bring in their own water supply. Bottled water is what's consumed.
Well, not to mention for the animals too. I mean, if in fact they were to get into some of the well water.
I'm not sure if the water, I don't know if the water may be suitable for the animals, but I would not be surprised if these animals aren't being fed bottled water as well.
Yeah, well,
I
from
mean,
the
Some of
cost
them
of
are
the
$1 million
animals. Yeah,
horses
no,
that
I
have
totally, yeah.
These things, I wouldn't, they
Probably
might,
eat better than I do.
they
Yeah.
probably do.
I doubt that.
So I think that was what the issue was with the testing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do the testing, and I think there were times when he didn't do testing, I think he did.
I think that, yeah.
Well, I think he, not that he didn't do it, but I think there was a time actually, I think he might have to tie into the town's water supply, in order to provide water to it. Or that might have been when the food preparation was.
I think that's what happened
Yeah.
at that point.
And so I don't really know the specifics of now, it's all this hearsay that I'm
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah,
But and the fact that, you know, we don't have a room full of people from the abutter saying, no, but we have some issues, I was grateful that they called in or sent an email to sort of address that. And so that eases my concern.
I would ask if anyone does call in, if they are suggested to reach out to Scott directly. If they
Yeah.
mind doing it, or I don't wanna put the town to be in the middle of a liaison issue, but, I mean, that's the thing, if there's an issue, even if they wanna drop a note to him, send him an email, but let him know, because that's the first step in taking care of anything, is letting him know.
But they may not know his email, which is why, like, when we reached out to the abutters, that's probably why we got the response. So we reached out to the abutters to say, hey, we have a meeting about, you know, the agreement, so. And again, we haven't had, not that I know Charlie, we haven't had people actively calling this office without us letting them know we were having this
Yeah,
meeting.
but it's not our responsibility to find out what the neighbors want, then call up.
Not asking you to.
Yeah,
If, my major concern with all of this whole process is the lack of respect for the position of this board. Any changes, we've shown respect by communicating by mail or letters to let him know. He's done the same thing with our health department and the same thing with our building inspector. As far as not acting immediately on things or in a reasonable amount of time.
Well, I think the immediate and reasonable amount of time is overlooking that behind the scenes, things are happening. As Board of Health, I don't know what's been brought to his attention.
If you were in court and you said to the judge, I hadn't been notified, that was the first thing the judge said was your client, aren't you communicating with your client? I mean, I think that if he wants to know what the neighbors feel about his program, then he'll maybe take the initiative and knock on some doors and find out himself what's going on.
And I'm not suggesting otherwise, all I'm saying is, if someone does call it, I mean, we have, this brought it to the neighbor's attention,
Yeah.
and people brought it up, and I would just, you know, if they could just be reminded that, you know, if his door is open, let him know. I'm sure if a neighbor says, okay, and they talk to him and they don't get anywhere, you'll probably more apt to hear
Yeah.
about it again, and then, you know, the agreement does have provisions to address things. You know, I know he wants to be a good neighbor, I don't know which neighbor we're talking about.
I don't know.
But that's the thing. When it comes to the Board of Health, I also don't know what we're talking about, you know, what communications last year. I think the agreement has had 2 seasons.
is it 2 seasons?
I believe it was 2000.
Yes,
I think
it was
about-
2016,
I think, yeah, 2016 is when we,
signed the agreement in the fall.
yeah, it was approved in August of 2017. We signed it in July of 2016.
Right,
And then by the time the court got it back. So I believe in 2016, I think we were operating under kind of.
More or less
quasi-
we
Conditions,
kind of
yeah.
we
Yeah,
kind
dealing-
of adopted it
Right.
without it being
And then
official.
17 and 18 with it being official, so it's about
Yes.
three
Yep.
years.
3 seasons, yeah,
Three seasons with it.
Yep.
So,
okay,
you know, I understand the concerns, they're,
Yeah.
you know, they're going to be addressed. You know, like a lot of things, it's, you know, says, you know, let him prove himself with this. You know, I'll have to talk to him about exactly, you know, if there's a difference of agreement between, you know, him and the other boards as to what's being done timely or not, because when I asked him, I said, has there been any other problems
Yeah.
about this? Wasn't given the idea that there were any other issues.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I wanna go, is I don't know what might be.
Well, no other issues could also mean nothing outstanding at the moment.
yes, and
No,
so.
not
to be-
necessarily that I haven't had any other
It
issues.
could be that, but I mean, I hope he would have told me that if he was away in the water a few times, that he would have told me that, and, but that's,
To be clear, I never saw the correspondence with the Board of Health. I saw correspondence with the building committee. That's what I had
that's,
seen.
that's an issue, and
Yeah.
that one I'm well aware of.
Yeah,
And
so-
I do know that when things were pushed on that, he then pushed.
Yeah,
where
no,
that
no,
needed
we
to
already
be
went
done.
through that. I don't wanna, you don't
That's-
have to go through it again.
Yeah.
So again, for me, it's tough, because I definitely don't want to hold up another business, and I know the shows are good for the town of Halifax, and, you know, those are my concerns. And I could say, can you make sure he promises?
Promises what?
Pinky swear.
Pinky swear. That he gets a letter, at least communicate back and say, hey, building inspector, you know, I'm working on it, thank you so much, and not like have crickets.
That part's surface.
Okay, thank you,
That
no more
part is-
crickets.
What I would, so,
We don't meet again until the 22nd, and I for one, want to at least have correspondence or some discussion with our attorney. So I don't know how that all plays out, I don't know how that's gonna work for you, and the dates, or his dates, or
So-
whatever.
well, he's at your mercy a little bit. So what I would ask is that if you're not able to put him on till the 22nd,
Well, there's no place to put them on. We're not, as you pointed out, we're not meeting next week.
no, I get that,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get- so that's right, so if you're willing to put him on for the 22nd, if the board would,
In the
extend-
meantime, talk
if
to
they
our
would-
town council.
I hope that would happen anyway, but I'd ask, so the agreement has a deadline of January 15th. And what I would ask is if you guys would extend that, is either we can have an understanding that he's gonna submit his tentative dates, subject to final approval of the
Yeah.
board for that date, which that would be easy to comply with, as opposed to we're extending the date. It might be easier, just allow him to submit the dates, subject to modification pending approval of the board, so that way at least have that part taken care of.
He can submit the dates, I mean, I don't see us voting on it until the 22nd at the earliest.
Oh, but he has a deadline of the 15th with you guys, so it's your deadline, under the
Oh,
agreement.
oh,
okay.
that's a horse of a
All right,
different color.
I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah,
that.
this is your
Oh,
deadline.
I thought you had to get the deadline for the people who have the
Yeah,
floor
that's how I
shows.
understood it
Well,
too, so I
I
misunderstood.
think,
Sooner rather than later.
No, no,
I
I mean, we
believe-
wanna wrap it up, so that's
we do. I
fine, as long
believe-
as we can extend it to the 22nd. Because that way we have time for town council to kind of look at it.
the problem with the people behind me is, I believe, they're meeting next week,
Oh,
so, but, that extra week would be okay?
No, it's gonna be too late.
Well, the omnibus be done?
Yeah.
We can. It'll be too late.
It'll be too late.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
we plan it for this year, we can try again next year.
Well, so, I'll speak to you guys after this.
All right.
I don't feel right about that.
And again, folks, I just want you to
No,
understand,
no,
this
we
has
understand.
absolutely nothing to do with your
Yeah,
show.
we
or-
get it. We know.
Nothing to do with the horse in the second race.
No, we don't do, no.
Oh.
My horse was over.
Now, I got a question, so, separate question, so Scott's looking for multiple things. He's looking for 2 days in June for the New England, and he's looking for his day, an added day in August. Would the board, and I don't know what the board, these people, I believe, you guys run your show yourself.
Correct.
Scott pretty much just provides you the fees.
Correct.
So, I guess the question would be, is if the board would entertain letting the New England Dressage Association do a show on June 1st and 2nd at Fieldstone Farms. They shall comply with all terms of his consent decree, and that they'll be the parties responsible for making sure that show.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but
And then we'll be back.
we will not have had time to talk with the attorney. I personally won't be able to support that.
Okay.
No, that doesn't, my vote doesn't carry anything, so.
And the understanding is we'd still be back on the 22nd to address the other issues with Scott. He'll have that one extra day that we wanted to deal with. That's it.
I'm be honest with you, I don't wanna deal with any part of this until we check with our attorney, and deal with the whole shmill, not
Yeah, I
just the
want to do it all
portion
at
of
once, because, death by a
Because
thousand
it's a change,
cuts.
it's a change in the document itself, Even though it might, even though we have permission to do it, it's still a change in the document because we're going past the 30 days.
Well, no, the document left open to leave it to you guys, so we didn't have to change the document. What the board would be doing would be approving these additional dates, this additional showing dates. And I believe that was the intent of leaving it in there, because we wouldn't want to be, anytime something would come up, that was the most likely thing to come up. I think everything else was controlled by outside sources, combined with the fire department and such. That was the one thing to make sure that you guys had that control.
I'm really torn about this, as you can see, right? So I understand exactly where Tom and Troy are coming from. I know with our meeting dates, it's been a difficult time to.
Well, we had the month off, right.
Yeah, so.
But we also weren't told that, I mean, the January 15th deadline is artificial in the sense of the board could say, fine, the whole, as it has already said, if he brought in dates 2 weeks from now, the board would approve them or not approve them.
Yeah, we didn't know
Yeah,
about
we
the
could
deadline
extend-
until
we didn't
right
know
now.
about
We
your
don't have an
deadline.
issue with
I
that.
didn't know about their deadline until
Yeah,
beforehand.
so that's the problem, like I think what we came into this meeting thinking that we would have a discussion, we would talk about the grievances, here are our grievances, and then we would have town council kind of look at it, and then we would come back and make the agreement.
Yeah.
Or
I
not.
didn't know about the issue with the outside show until this evening either.
Yeah.
Until their time constraints.
Well, I mean, I don't think it would pass anyway, even if so, I think what we need to do,
Well, I think the board's gonna keep itself open in the sense of they'll talk to council during the next couple of weeks. They'll still entertain the idea, they're not saying yes, they're not saying no about all 3 dates. If it turns out it's too late, or 2 weeks from now, then it is too late, but at least the board will have that discussion.
Understood.
okay,
To be continued on the 22nd.
Pam, you have the agenda book?
No, I don't.
I think, well, I have my notes for
Yeah,
that.
I think we have an April, we have 8 o'clock.
The Housing Authority thing, I can't see taking more than 15 minutes, 8:30 again on the 22nd.
So,
8:30, is that what you said, 8:30?
Yeah.
okay, the best we can do.
all right, so I will just want to note on the 22nd, I know Scott might have an issue. However, it's the one thing I know about it is. But I will be speaking to him about the concerns, and I will make sure that I will be able to, whatever I say goes in case he can't be here.
Perfect.
But I'm going to, I know he will do pretty much everything he can to be there, but I know he has something on that, part of that day that can't be changed.
Okay, no
But I'm hoping
worries.
that doesn't interfere with the night.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much for coming in.
And, Board of Health, is there someone, best person over there for me to reach out to?
Kathy Dry,
Kathy Dryan.
with a C.
Kathy with the C.
Dryer?
Dryden.
Drynan.
Okay.
And if for some reason she's not in the office, Peggy Salter or Salter.
That name I remember.
Okay, Selter. So you'll talk to somebody.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them to find out exactly what the issue was.
Well, put a plural to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, more than one.
Any other boards I need to reach out to?
That's not a word.
Oh, let's see, I know,
No,
I think they're the only other board involved,
yeah,
if I remember right.
the building inspector,
No, his,
yeah.
we know his
Well,
issue.
that's at
That's
least,
actually resolved.
that's,
Yeah.
I was just going to add that.
That, until we gotta go to,
Right.
we get a waiver. Well, thank you very much.
thank
All
you
right,
so
cool.
much, Bill, nice to see you. Safe travels. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry
See
for
if we can make changes. to
delaying.
our-
Hopefully you can.
Take the document up to the 22nd.
I hope you can. I hope you can.
We spent 14 years dealing with this.
Okay,
We know exactly where you are.
all right, thank you
Well,
so
well,
much.
I
appreciate it.
appreciate that, and I think we appreciate that, it certainly wasn't anything to do with,
Oh, we
again,
don't
with
take
these
these
folks.
sort of, well, I do
It's the
100%.
I hope you can
it's the
work it out.
frustration of constantly,
This is why we had a good relationship with the zoning board of appeals.
yes,
You
yeah,
did.
yeah.
You did.
Oh, yeah, we
I
did.
know you did, yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
All right,
Take care, safe travels home.
Thank you, you too.
yeah. Good night. Okay,
Do you want to take a break, or do you want me to?
No, we don't need a break.
Move along here, let's go.
Okay. Fire department, 2 grants, $3,754 for student awareness of fire education, so that's gonna be for school-aged children programs. Then $2,400 Safe Senior Grant, or Senior Safe Grant for fire education programs and purchasing of fire prevention items for seniors. The chief at the department wanted to recommend Captains Cunningham and Kuzo for their work in obtaining these grants, so if the board would send letters,
Letter of kudos for,
to,
Yes,
Yeah,
boy, they've been
yeah.
doing a lot of grants lately.
Right. Town report, town meeting warrant, Harding and Son provide prices for printing the town report and town meeting warrant. Costs were up slightly, went up from $14.45 per page to $14.90 for the report and $46.71 to $46.94 per page for the warrant. But I do recommend the board approve these quotes.
Do you have a motion?
so moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
We received a recycling abatement request for Bill 636. I don't recommend approval, as the requesters did pay the bill, then sold the property, and now looking for the town to give them a refund. As with other municipal charges, such as, water fees and property tax and such, this should have been part of the settlement documents for the sale of the
Right,
property.
exactly.
No, it probably wasn't, because she paid it, and so then it was shown paid, but still.
But that's not our doing,
Yeah, right.
that they
That's
should
not-
have
that's
worked
not
it
our
out
problem.
with
The
their
closing
own.
attorney's
Well,
issue.
just like if the property, who's gonna pay property taxes?
I would
How
move,
much oil's
I
in
would
the
move
tank?
that
It's
we,
all-
move that we refuse the
Deny bill number
request.
636.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ambulance rates, Comstar, which is the billing service that the fire department's using, had sent in a proposed rate change form for Halifax for 2019.
Yep.
They provide information about what their average rates are for basic life support services, and then advanced life support 1, advanced life support 2, and for mileage, and then the non-covered mileage. All these are jumps. The big jump is on the ALS 2, and I did talk to the chief about that, because it's basically a 50% jump. But he said it's a very rare occurrence where they have to bring in life support at a level 2.
Okay.
I mean, I have a philosophical problem not with the fire department, but of course, one of our problems sort of at the other end is, okay, everybody can charge more, and the insurance companies are going to say yes, which means the insurance rates go up, which means at our end, when our people are taking an ambulance, not necessarily here in Halifax, but in general, if all the ambulance companies around here raise
Jack the
their
rate
rates,
up.
well, we end up paying the bill one
Right.
way or the other.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I have a philosophical problem. I'm not saying don't do it, it's just pointing out.
Understood. Yeah.
So I don't know what the board would want to do with this.
I think we need to adopt it, so I would make a motion that we adopt these new rates as printed in our form.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I did check with Scott Materna in between writing this up and tonight's meeting on the HVAC maintenance agreement for the library with Cotty Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning.
Yep.
And Scott did say there was, the item that I had a question about will be included in the agreement, so if
Oh,
the board would
perfect.
approve that.
Yes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
And I'll
Aye.
take care of it since I
All right,
know what
thank
we're
you.
doing.
Oh, yeah, I saw the powers.
Fiscal 18 audit, we have the drafts of the management letter and financial statements.
Nice job. Are we meeting with them?
We're gonna meet ourselves first,
Yes.
and then we'll meet with Powers and
Okay,
Sullivan.
so you'll let me know.
And I need to get dates,
Okay.
and I'll talk with you about
We
that.
can talk about it tomorrow.
Right.
Okay.
4 deeds to sign for the cemetery, yes.
Okay, thank you.
407 South Street, council's working with the family with a likely move out by February 28th for the last occupant. This is one of the 4 properties that the town foreclosed on, and I have a note about that, so things are slowly
We
working out
done
there.
like Lytton, because there was a big to-do about lights on the signage down the
Yeah, it
strip.
has to do with an interpretation of what the,
Yeah,
what the
because
lighting
I thought
system-
there was no lighting outside the building.
No, lighting is
No, the
allowed
lighting's there.
outside the building.
This is
The
just
question is
inside.
whether it's internally lit or not.
yeah, 'cause depending on how you.
Interpret internally lit.
Yeah, exactly.
And the planning board in essence said that these didn't qualify as internally lit signs, so they approved the
Correct.
lighting.
Yeah.
This is for Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, it's
We're
it's
very
what they
picky
refer
about
to
our
as halo lighting.
Yeah.
Because it's the historical, no, it's not even.
No, it's not historic.
It's not,
Just
it's outside,
whether the
yeah.
collective internally lit or not. Let's see here. This is we need to do a database of the pavement management and traffic, sign inventory. I'm working with Steve Hayward and Caesar Clare, on a proposed agreement with a firm called McMahon Transportation Engineers and Planners, but I'm sending that to council for review. We got a letter from Sandra Conway. I think she also wrote the board to the finance committee, because I remember hearing this letter last night. She's given up on using Polk's Tavern. She just feels it's, the conditions aren't conducive to senior programs there. She thinks it's too crowded in spaces and everything else that we know is wrong. She's hoping the town will take some sort of action in the future to improve the
Yeah.
spaces for the council and for seniors. You need to have you need to affirm having Tom signed a letter a couple of weeks ago stating that Susan Lawless, who's the assistant town clerk for the town of Halifax, funding had not been approved for her to attend the MTCA Winter Conference. This would allow her to get a scholarship to go to the conference, even though, and Tom signed this letter a couple of weeks ago, but the board needs to affirm Tom signed the letter.
Do you have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
2 copies of the fire chief's contract to sign. This updates it for fiscal 2020 for the amount that was agreed upon when the board was negotiating with him back last spring. On the issue of the acceptance of the statute to indemnify employees, I talked with council about this. We already have our insurance policy that does this, our public officials policy. For some reason, we've never accepted the statute. Doesn't mean we wouldn't identify these people because we've got the insurance policy, but we would officially be on the record as having accepted that section of the general laws, and I will bring that to town meeting in May.
Oh, in May, you're gonna wait till May?
Yeah, I'm trying, I think, just to minimize
no, that's
what
fine.
we're doing at the February town meeting.
Okay.
John Peck talked with me today. He asked for a postponement.
He hasn't been doing
No,
well.
he's not been doing well. So if the board would agree to move it to the 22nd.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Let's see, Pine Street Bridge design, I'm still waiting for a final version of the engineering contract with Better Group.
That takes a
Would be
long
the
time.
design. Yeah, well, there's a lot of language that
Yeah.
wasn't beneficial to the town, let's put it that way, in
Yeah.
the original draft. So my hope is I'll bring that back in the next couple of weeks. Foreclosed properties, the 407 South Street, as I mentioned, this is official notice from the treasurer collector that all the paperwork's now done. One parcel on Pine Street, one on Hudson Street, and then 92 Lincoln Street. Those last 3 are land only, there are no buildings on them. It was just 407th Street that had a building on it, and the occupant, and we're dealing with that situation. There's no action for the board. We're gonna wait a year before taking any action because there's a redemption period where the former owners can redeem the property.
Yes.
So we'll just let them sit for the
But we have
land.
to take care of them.
Yes, for the building one, we'll have to take care of.
Mhm.
Obviously, the 3 land ones, we're not too
Yeah.
worried about. Library has asked for the HP Jet Pro 8710 that's there and broken down to be declared surplus, and I'll ship down that to the electronics shed over at the
Do you need
recycling
us to
center.
declare shipping surplus?
Yes, I need the board to
So
declare it
moved.
surplus.
Second,
All those in favor?
We received
Aye.
notification from Thomas Hall, one of our police officers over at the police department, that he's going to be retiring from the department on February 1st. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who I learned from and guided me in my career as a police officer. This department's truly made up of a great group of officers, both past and present. It's been a privilege and honor to serve the last 21 years in the community I live in. While I will miss it, I also take this opportunity to explore new ventures. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this community, and best wishes to all.
Awesome. And so Tom is a part-time officer, he's a PI, and so he's also a full-time fire
Known
department
him for
member.
years.
He's
Yeah.
awesome. He's on our
he's a
fire
good
study
guy,
committee.
you know him a
Yeah.
long time.
So I'll entertain a letter to send to Tom for thanks
Thanks.
for his
Yeah,
years of service.
I'll gladly move that.
I'll gladly second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I went down during intermission tonight to check on the OBRs. It is boarded up.
Yeah.
So at least that's progress.
Yay.
And obviously, no one would ever want to use the building, but at least you can't get in there, one hopes, unless you, I guess, go through a hole in the roof or something like
Yeah,
that.
right.
And there are a few of those.
Yes, but it's better.
Yeah.
So.
It's
Um,
safer,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and just so, not, I'm asking the board to take
Nips.
any action, we talked about nips before.
Yes,
The city of Chelsea has banned them.
let's do it.
But the only way I think it's gonna be effective if we went ahead and did
Have a
it.
tollway on the road
It's
to
that the
keep people from
surrounding
going
towns
through.
get
Yeah.
Because if I've got a place in East Bridgewater that's
Yeah.
selling them 3 feet away from the town line and they keep dropping more than 106.
Well, then we'll see half pints.
And I saw on Facebook that somebody is gonna submit a petition.
Well, I went down,
Yes, for the back.
Indian Path and I saw a fifth of
I'm
liquor,
gonna leave these
empty bottle laying on the
things
road.
out
All you have
so
to
that
do is
we
drive
don't
past
have
my
to
property in
recreate
the
them.
morning and see counts
See,
of liquor bottles on the front
Pam,
yard that people.
I'm
toss.
leaving
Oh,
those
should
out, cause I'm
toss
gonna
them
need
out
them for a
there,
different
right?
meeting.
Okay.
I should put in recycling.
And I did talk to the board, if you remember last month, about the computer network problems over the Council on Aging through the work that Caesar and our outside firms did back in December. It seems to have solved the problems, at least I haven't heard anything
Oh,
for the
good.
last few weeks. So all the problems, whether it's the computers or the network or the internet or anything else, I'm hoping they've been resolved, and we can move on. And that's it. Our next meeting is on January 22nd, as I mentioned. Besides the appointments we already had for Wild Fieldstone Farm at 8:30. And after Fieldstone, I'm gonna ask the chiefs and the highway surveyor to come in and talk about union contracts.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, and that's
Pam,
it.
what else do we have?
Nothing.
Street openings?
We got nothing.
No, we got nothing.
Any street closings so we can close them?
No, I don't have anything. Just that,
I would move that we adjourn if there's no further business to be taken, huh?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Yay.
Right.
Aye.